to another edition of the Wrestling Underground podcast. We are the official onboard sponsors for Wrestle House. Not really, but I wish. Oh, Impact, you are doing some phenomenal television, and people need to give you credit. The Twitch stream was up this week, like significantly up, and that has to bode well for their TV ratings as well. Because if Twitch is doing better, then their TV is going to do better.
Was it glitching? Were we supposed to see Melissa during the breaks? Cause I saw like a glimpse of her, and then
so
like
sometimes what happens is she has to she does the in between commercial stuffs. I don't personally like them because she's basically just like engaging with the chat. I don't give a fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. Davidson 1442. Oh, you think LA Park is cool? Me too. Oh God, it's so bad. But she's so pretty to look at, so it's like. But yeah, usually she does like breaks in between. But sometimes either because her son's with her all the time, so sometimes like he'll act up and she'll have to like step away, or sometimes she'll have internet issues, and they'll just play clips, or they'll play that bumper where they just flash the Impact screen logo with like the boom.
Yeah, it's cool that they're still, I'm guessing, giving us something to do that.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, she's still employed. But yeah, like you said, it's pretty much like, I guess, the interactive version of the TNA title, world title. Even when Moose's match tonight, he was like, "That's right, folks, that's the TNA World Heavyweight Championship, about as relevant as the belt I'm wearing."
Oh boy. I don't know what they're going to do with that belt. I'm hoping they actually just like solidify it as a real title, because like that would be a very cool thing, especially if it leads to like a title versus title thing. But I do also kind of like Moose kind of running with it as if he was like Ted DiBiase with the $1 million title. So, I'm good either way, but I really like that championship design. Not as much as the Golden Eagle one. I want that one back.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's funny. I mean, because I think Sting debuted that title.
Yes, you are correct. He did debut that specific design after he beat Jeff Hardy in February of 2011, maybe 2 weeks before Victory Road, when Jeff went all wonkadoodles on his legs.
Yeah, and at first it was all putting. It was a big god. I'm like, okay, that's just like it's a big face type of thing. But then I got used to it and actually started to like it. And it sucks now. I'm like, I almost wish they had put the white on it when it was actual. There's like the world title, but yeah, the new one's cool. But I do appreciate. I mean, that they honestly could call that the legitimate Legends TNA Legends Championship.
They could,
but
I think it was actually revealed in April or May, not February. I think. Let me. I'll double check one day. It won't be right now, but it's a very interesting thing that you bring up that belt specifically, because Impact just debuted a new title as well beyond the strap for that belt. And according to Belt Fan Dan, that white belt that we're seeing now is actually some type of, I don't want to say bootleg, but it's some type of off-brand, because they used to make title belts that you could buy as a fan. And apparently this was one of those belts that you could buy back in the day because they had sold off the original when they moved. Who knows why? So like when they moved from Nashville to Toronto, they sold all their belts to collectors. So this belt that they have is one of the replicas. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But they bought a new belt apparently. And that's the belt that Eddie Edwards has. And I even tweeted out, but I thought better of it. I'm like, I think that's a new belt, but I deleted it because I wasn't sure. Because it looks just like the one that Tessa had, only far more gold. And apparently...
yeah, I pointed that out last night. I'm like, is it just me or does it have a new shine to that belt?
Yeah.
I pointed that out and boom.
So. Yeah, you're right. You are 100% right. Well, according to Belt Fan Dan, Impact did get a new set of belts. And apparently the reasoning has to do with Tessa Blanchard being... Cuntatron?
Cunt alert.
Optimus... Cunt? Star Cunt? Garf Cunt and Friends.
Cunnimus Prime.
Cuntimus Prime. The Thunder Cunts. Cunthor. Cuntano. Cheetar Cunt.
What did Qatar? That's hilarious. What were they? Yes, Tessa Cuntgarian. Yeah.
So Tessa, according to Belt Van Dam, and Belt Van Dam, for those that don't know, is really well connected. So while I don't always believe everything he says because who knows who he's talking to, the fact is that Impact fired Tessa before her contract expired for a reason. They stripped her of the belt for a reason. And I even said, because I had heard from someone, that she refused to do the JOB. And I didn't go with that because I only have one source. And I always, have that internal dialogue of I need two independent sources before I ever say anything. So apparently, Belt Van Dam says that she was holding up the belt for $150,000. Not just to drop the belt, mind you, but to send it back. I don't know if that number's true, but considering all the things that she's been accused of in her career of being just the worst person ever, I don't doubt it. And now we got to go back to a little story. Remember how Tessa always liked to say, when I was 17, I got kicked out of my house? I'm starting to wonder if there was a good reason for why that happened. Because it kind of makes her mom and Magnum TA seem like giant dicks. But now we're starting to see that maybe they didn't do it sooner. Maybe they probably should have done it when she was like 14. Like, get the fuck out. You problem child. I told everyone before that she was able to work the shows. This is like the narrative that the media is running with is wrong. You've always been allowed to travel internationally for work since the pandemic started. That has not changed. The only thing that has been reduced or restricted is travel into the country for non-work reasons. So Tessa at no point was unable to get back into the country. She opted on 3 different occasions not to go in. And people are like, well, that's all right. And to be fair, I'm with you on that. But according to AC Romero, while they're not doing full-fledged COVID nose and blood tests, they're mandating, PPE. They're mandating social distancing. They're putting wrestlers in individual hotels, advising everyone to do 2 weeks quarantine between tapings. Like, they're doing a lot more for their talent than anyone else, named WWE. So this isn't kind of like one of those things where people are afraid to come into work. Apparently, everyone seems really, really comfortable with how things are, which is making this Wrestle House thing really interesting because they got a lot of people in that room all at once. But when it comes to Tessa, she's been showing over the last year that she's not exactly the person you want on your roster. And then, of course, you have the racism allegations. And again, I want to point out that only 4 people were in that room when those words were allegedly made. 2 of them have never spoken up about it, and none of them were Allison Kay, who was the one who spoke on the incident originally. So I don't know what was said. We don't know what was said. You don't know what was said. But I'm starting to think that maybe there's some significant kind of attraction to it. Now, allegedly the WWE's interested in her. They can have her. That show's a horror show. She can go get fucked. I don't care. Marcus, when you look at the report of $150,000, that's just outlandish. Like if you were like, all right, hey, it's going to cost $200 to send it back. Just cover the fucking cover fee for me sending it back, and we'll call it even. Fair enough. All right, like you shouldn't have to pay to ship their property back. But 100, like, no, I could send that through FedEx for like $20, 28 something.
I mean, first off, everything you said specifically about her going to the WWE, they could have whatever. Like just take her and do what you want. Do that with everybody else. Like I said before the show, I'm just over at this point. Like I was, she captured my attention fully, for a while there. Actually from the minute she stepped in there, she had a very much like, it felt like the minute she debuted, like she was channeling like China in a way,
Mm-hmm.
and then she elevated, and it was just great to watch. But then things turned and went sour, and it's like listen to this situation between what you said about the price of the belt and her potentially wanting, allegedly wanting certain amounts for I guess just participating via video and sending it in to the shows
Mm-hmm.
to at least act like you're still there. Like it seemed like, because I know there was a big deal with her, and I don't think she's been on social media for a while. Um, she kind of, she got everything leading with first women world champion. I think she obviously put a lot of weight behind that. But for as, I guess, inclusive of what, however game changing, that was supposed to be, or that was in her mind, a lot of people was not behind that. Um, so I think with this another, what it seems like, and obviously this is speculative, it seems like she got to the point where, like I said, thought that was more game changing than what it was, and in her head, well, she thought she was more invaluable than what she actually ended up being, and she didn't want to meet them halfway. Specifically, being like I said, she was the emblem on the Mercedes, and you thought, like, well, if you don't have me, you might as well, chunk off the car, and that whole deal. It's like, no, we'll just get a new emblem, you know. So, you know, this car's still good. You throw this like an emblem in the trash. So now that's kind of where we are. And, in a way, I'm pretty sure it costs a decent amount of funds, but that new belt does look great. It definitely looks great around Eddie. So, it is what it is. Like I said, she put so much stock into that being that world champion. It meant that much to her. She can hold on to that title. Because like I said before, shit'll never happen again. It'll never happen again.
Yeah, she wrecked her entire legacy by leaving Impact the way she did. And it's going to be one of those things where I don't know what she was thinking because clearly there's no market for her. Like, unless she had a contract on the table from the WWE that she was set to sign the day her Impact contract expired, I really don't know what she has out there. Tony Khan might sign her. I think Tony Khan is I think I don't want to say he's a scumbag, but I don't think you can trust him. He definitely is sounding more and more like Vince McMahon every single week. And seeing how Cody is treating, seeing how Cody treated that whole Jimmy Havoc bullshit was just gross. So I wouldn't be surprised if they signed Tessa, especially, that would be hilarious considering Tony said about Hulk Hogan, no, we're not going to sign Hulk Hogan because he's a racist. Well, if she does sign with AEW, I'm just going to laugh and laugh and laugh.
Chad, he had a racist instance. He had a racist outburst.
And there's a difference between an instance and an outburst. An instance is a singular moment in time. An outburst is a few instances stacked up like a Jenga tower. Jenga. Racist Jenga. The new game by Hasbro.
Yeah, it's and to be fair, we did point out at the time, and as we do because we try to look at these things from both sides. There is a thing because, like I said, we were told what she said. We actually heard what he said.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly a lot of dominoes are starting to fall in the wrong direction when it comes to her dealing with it. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at the peak level of pettiness if, because in her head she knows that whole world champion crap isn't going to happen ever again, that she didn't just keep that title just to humor her own ego after Impact. Because like I said, that whole world title intergender thing, if her goal is to go eventually to WWE, that's out the window. That crap won't be getting spewed there. You're going to peek at Charlotte. They're going to run that into the ground, and then you're just going to be like everybody else.
Yeah, and they may not even do the Charlotte thing. If we've learned anything Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar related, that they don't give us the matches we always want. So, good luck, Tessa. You're going to need a kid. Speaking of which, Eddie cut a promo saying that he was basically done watching the Revolving Door World Champions, and he's here, and he's going to be a defending champion, and all that wonderfulness. And I'm just sitting here going, yes, Eddie, yes. Save us from the douchebags. Because since Lashley left, because I would say Lashley and Eddie, were definitely world champions that stuck around because Lashley was champion He was a challenger heading into the Alberto Del Rio stuff or El Patron stuff. He was a champion during the Eddie feud. He was a champion with Drew McIntyre and before that. So he had a good 2-year run where you could put the belt on him and know that he was sticking around. But before then, I would definitely say because like AJ and Magnus was a failure as champion. His first run through, Nick Aldis. Matt Hardy, that whole scene was terrible. They haven't really had a consistent world champion that you could build around outside of Lashley since 2013 with Bully Ray.
Yeah, I know you wasn't that necessarily a fan of it. I appreciated the shift that they did with Rude. And I think Storm maybe had it for a month.
Yeah, and that was 2012. Oh, wait,
Yeah.
and Rude won it again in 2014. Although,
yeah.
like Marcus just pointed out, you'd be hard to figure that out and remember it.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the most memorable run.
And then obviously we never brought up EY. I mean, it was a good earnest try, and and kudos to him. And it's funny because it's so weird that that's where I capped him off at. I completely forgot that he went batshit crazy.
Yeah, I forgot about that too. I think we all did. I think we wanted to. I think the thing with EY that I think was the problem was simply because he wasn't supposed to be the champion. His whole title reign was supposed to end at Slammiversary. It was going to be MVP versus EY in the main event. But MVP, I think, fucked his knee up. And they ended up doing the opener matches where like Lashley took on someone and Austin Aries took on someone. And then it was Lashley, Austin Aries in the main event. So it was one of those things where, EY was supposed to just get the belt from Aldis to MVP without having to turn one guy face. That's not how it went. And, just even if the guy stuck around, the booking for those eras were just bad. To be fair, like those guys stuck around, and to be fair to these last few guys like Aries, Morrison, and Cage, and Tessa, not so much Tessa, but like they've been booked strong. It's not like they were like terrible champions like Aldis, and I'm not digging on Aldis. I'm just saying if you were watching the product at the time, Aldis needed all the help in the world to always win, and that should never have been the thing. Because if Aldis had beaten Jeff Hardy clean and beaten Sting clean and beaten Styles clean, even as a villain, I think fans would have taken him a lot more serious, and I think his run would have been a lot more effective. Also, if he didn't have that terrible fucking lockdown poster, not great.
I can't believe the sell those, man.
Yeah, someone had the audacity to think those were a good idea. I'm not sure why. Oh, God. I want to meet someone who bought it. Because, like, I could sell them anything. Hey, you want this empty can of compressed air? $20. Jay Lethal breathed on it. Boom. Profit. All right, so we got to talk about this fucking Joey Ryan thing. So, what was it? Saturday, Joey Ryan posted a video pretty much saying, I didn't do it. I didn't do it for The Rock. I didn't do it for the people. And kudos to Ryan Satin, because I was not watching this video. It's an hour long. I'm going to read the article as is, and then we'll get to the particulars. Joey Ryan shared a nearly hour-long video on Saturday addressing every single allegation made against him in the Speaking Out movement. Ryan begins by saying this video is for his fans who have shown him support throughout the years, as he feels he owes them a bit of clarity so they don't have to feel guilt for it. Joey says that the reason he is not commented on the matter yet is because his therapist told him to take a break from social media, and his lawyer told him to not comment on any of the allegations until he could look into them due to the severity of some of the claims. Joey Ryan goes on to quote, Satin goes on to quote Joey Ryan, there we go. Since no legal action is being taken, I'm going to address the allegations in this video. I also felt it was important to respect the moment and allow these women the opportunity to speak and be heard about how they feel and how they felt. But I do believe people should be held accountable for fabricating stories or changing the narrative of stories just so they can be part of a movement. I do want to make one thing clear. I have never had sex with a woman without her consent. Sorry. I have never acted criminally towards a woman. Bullshit! Sorry. I have never acted criminally with sex. Shit. Sorry. My throat's really clogged up today. And unlike these allegations, I have actual evidence that can show you that. All right, hang on. Bullshit. That's a little pitchy. I do want to make one thing clear. I have never. I already heard that. I've never used any clout or any kind of influence I have in wrestling to get people to do anything that they don't want to do, or I've never felt used for personal gain. Bullshit. He also claims he's never been sexually charged during a match or turned on by wrestling. Well, that's good to know. Joey says that the allegations made about him first started to coming up. He felt like he was going crazy because the stories he was reading about himself were very different than how he remembered them happening. He then claims he started digging through old texts and direct messages of women in question and found quote-unquote evidence. Thank you, Ryan Satin, for putting that in quotes. You know, Ryan Satin, you may stalk porn stars, but other than that, you're creepy as fuck.
Yes.
Disputing almost all the claims made against him. Ryan then made the following claims. We're going to read these claims because they're all terrible, and I'm going to tell you that they all revolve around, nuh-uh, no I didn't, or yeah I did, sorry. 3 key responses regarding a claim from someone who said he actively pursued the guy's fiancée and was instrumental in helping ruin the person's life. Joey says that the woman never mentioned being engaged or having a boyfriend when she came to LA. So, it's true. Kind of. According to Joey. Now, you got to remember, something that sociopaths will do is, if they're caught, sometimes they'll admit to something. You hit my car, called me a racist, and slapped my dog. All right, I hit your car, but the other stuff is bullshit. No, it's not. It's the cop to the half-truth. Because it's a psychological need when confronted with something you've done to confess. You'll see it a lot. Hey, did you throw that egg and stain my car? I threw the egg, but I didn't stain it. You did. You did. Regarding a fan who claimed Joey propositioned him to grab his penis, then grab the guy at the same time behind the merch table, Ryan claims this is untrue. Marcus, the evidence is astoundingly against that claim. Joey's clearly a good guy. It's not true. Regarding a claim that he assaulted a woman in a bathroom at a wedding, Joey claims that he had been drinking and snuck into the bathroom to make out. Marcus, he snuck into a women's room at a party pavilion. Joey Ryan, savior of women.
Okay, wait a minute. When you say she was, this comes off like, oh, drunk. God, I feel like making out. Oh, the women's room.
There's plenty of women in there.
Well, it's like, was this a decision that they made, and then they got in there and she realized what she was about to put her mouth on and said no? About it was too late. Like, we see, this is where this crap gets murky at. Because, like you said, he's copping the half truths now.
He goes on to claim that she performed a consensual sex act on him. After this, Joey says she continually tried to go out on dates with him and have threesomes with other parties, which he showed evidence of. He believes that she wouldn't have done this if she felt like he had assaulted her. Now, see, I hate to break this to Mr. Joey Ryan. One of the key things about sexual assault victims is a need to lash out sexually. That's why a lot of women who have been raped and assaulted are very promiscuous afterwards, because it's a psychological need to reclaim the act of sex. This doesn't really mean anything other than Joey admitted to the fact that he snuck into the women's room and assaulted some chick. Like, Joey, you're not making your case for you, bro.
Well, apparently it was assault from her perspective.
Yes, because, it was just good fun times in the women's room, like every man's allowed to have.
Yeah, I guess fellatio is consent.
No, Marcus, walking into the women's room as a man is consent. Just his mere presence gives him the right. Regarding a claim from former spandex editor Danielle Matheson, apologies if I mispronounced that. Allegedly, Ryan used his mental health issues to sexually abuse her in 2019. Joey claims he did confide in her, and they shared a hotel room in 2019. So she's telling the truth. He also shows messages between them showing it was her idea, as well as his message showing she consented beforehand to cuddling. Joey additionally shared a retraction she had to make about Trent Seven in the Speaking Out movement to discredit her character. See, this is another thing that people do when they're faced with sexual assault allegations. They try to discredit the credibility of the person accusing them. Now, in all forms of legal defenses, this is technically allowed. And it's actually not something that I have a problem with, truthfully. If you're being accused of murder and the dude accusing you is a cracked out junkie who's lied to the court 26 times and thinks that George Bush Jr. probed him anally, you're going to want to call into question his sanity. Like, you know, it's just, he thinks George Bush Jr. is an alien. I don't think I should be up here. Sir, do you believe George Bush Jr. is an alien? Yes, I do. Sir, you can go back home. Thank you.
This is this is weird, and this might be like a completely different conversation for another show. But it's almost weird. Like, this comes off because all of a sudden now, of course, he has this evidence. Like, in the back of his mind, was this something that he was gonna need for later? Because in my mind, I'm like, if you got to go through all that and kind of like arrange it to be like, okay, let me take these steps just in case this comes back on me later. If that's how this is gonna go, you probably shouldn't be in this scenario in the first place.
And see, now, again, I point out to you, this is something that's psychopathic or sociopathic would end up doing, maintaining a record or log to be able to defend themselves in a court of law. No one who's logical or unparanoid would do this. I would do this, but I'm paranoid as fuck. I think everyone's out to get me, but I admit that. Like, I think Marcus is trying to take over the show every week. Not this week, buddy. I'm on dia. I'm only half joking. I do keep, like, not receipts. I hate that word, but I do keep like important text logs. Like if I'm having a conversation with the boss, I always make sure to save the emails. Not to like see you're a bad person, but I'm so paranoid about screwing up that I constantly reread what they send me so that I have the perfect idea of what they want from my work. But the reason why someone like Joey Ryan, who granted has been accused of 1725, 168 different acts of sexual aggression, they do it in order to build a defense. It's a built-in it's not what's the word? It's not psychopathy. Psychosis. It's a built-in psychosis to defend themselves from these types of situations. It's very much a sociopathic trait. And by the by, the woman who accused him of sexual assault, he says that she consented to cuddling. And by the by, let me point this out because this is key. Marcus, none of these are quote unquote evidences to anything. Because he's not being accused of talking to someone afterwards. He's not being accused of having a conversation through a DM that she denied. He's being accused of private, intimate moments of abuse that he cannot disprove. These, well, she texted me after, no one's saying they didn't. In fact, one of the victims even expressly said that I maintained a friendly work relationship with Joey afterwards because I was afraid he would ruin my career. So this whole thing, Joey, we already know that some of them talked to you afterwards. We already know. This isn't something that we were unprepared for. And by the by, there's already women who have been talking about Joey Ryan behind the scenes through DMs, through personal emails and such for the better part of a few years. An editor even said that she was working on an article for Bar Wrestling. And when she was asking around, like, hey, should I go talk to Joey Ryan? Because he runs Bar Wrestling. A woman who the editor would not talk, say the name of said, no, stay away from Joey Ryan. So the stories about Joey Ryan aren't new. They didn't just come out. They've been around forever. So Joey's got to have a lot more going on. And I'm going to tell you when we get done with this, Marcus, the legal thing, I'll go further into that. Regarding an anonymous claim, which said he forced himself on a woman in a hotel room, Joey claims it was consensual. And that he stopped when she got weirded out because they knew each other's exes. Marcus, I've had sex with someone who knew my ex. I didn't stop because it was weird. Because it's not. That's not a thing. No one says, hey, I know your ex. This is weird. No. If you know my current girlfriend, we're doing okay, fair enough. This is, again, him twisting the situation to try to make himself look like a victim. Where are we at? Regarding another anonymous claim that he sexually assaulted a friend of his in a hotel room, he says that it was consensual and that they were both regretted it after because it changed their relationship. He was also friends with her significant other, so he felt bad. So, Marcus, there's a trend here of him doing bad things that make people feel bad.
Yeah, in all these stories, he's like putting in and like an instant exit for his actions.
Mm-hmm.
It also sounds like, because like for the woman, like the consent needs to be continuous. It sounds like the minute there's a point where if she consents to this, then everything else is cool. Like she came in the bathroom with me, that's consent for the remaining of the transaction. Or we in the hotel room sitting on the bed. That's for the rest of the consent for the rest of this transaction. And then if that's not enough, we went there, but we did it, but I was about to go there, but we stopped. Like this is where it's not adding up. And the fact that I'm pretty sure it's gonna be a thing depending on the judge, that his whole wrestling gimmick is based off of like a dick, literally, worrying about his dick. This gonna be some interesting litigation.
Oh, yeah. Regarding claims made by wrestler Alanya Black, saying he was inappropriately direct messaging her, Joey denies all of these claims and shows evidence of their messages. Again, it should be pointed out, that doesn't mean he didn't do it. I can delete DMs. I cannot show you the parts of the DMs in which I don't want you to see. It's not a hard thing to cover up. Like, this isn't like a deep fake where like he's like, well, someone stole my face. They Tom Cruised Mission Impossible to me. No, you could have simply just not shown. Like, that's not evidence, dude. I want to see her DMs, and then we'll talk. Regarding the claim that he only booked a girl on his show on her 18th birthday so that she would touch his penis in the ring, Joey claims it was a part of an ongoing storyline that they had both been excited about. See, Marcus, it's her fault. He also talks about how he offered to make out with her after she turned 18, but when she said no, he respected it. Joey Ryan's 40, trying to make out with an 18-year-old. You mensch you. Look at you doing your people proud, Joey. Yeah, he's the big creepy.
Post-dated red shirting. That's hilarious.
Right? Like, you can come up with any fucking philosophy or theory or fundamental belief, but Joey, you are giving us enough proof to hang you, bro.
He's a pervert. They RSVPs. Hilarious.
Like so here's something that I should point out. In California has tougher sexual defense laws or sexual assault laws than Ohio. Propositioning a 17-year-old to touch your penis after she turns 18 is still illegal. I don't care what context it's in. It's called grooming. It's called gross sexual battery. It's called gross sexual imposition of a minor. Like, Joey Ryan just admitted to 3 felonies.
That's basically you just saying you had intent at that time. You just needed to wait till it was legal so you could get away with it.
Yeah. Like if you contact someone at 18 and you're like, listen, I know you just turned 18 today, you want to fuck? That's cool. Hell, if you're in Ohio or Louisiana or Minnesota, I think those are all 16 states. If you ask someone who's under the age of 18 but above the age of 15, 16 to 17, obviously, 16 and 17-year-olds can consent to sex with an adult. He'd be fine. Still creepy, but fine. But in California, where he does a lot of his wrestling, it's a hard 18 on all those things. So he's fucked. And I love that he's like, but when she said no, I respected it. No, you didn't. Fucking pervert. Regarding claims made by wrestler Alex Garcia, in which he said he surprised her by walking out of the bathroom naked while she was in his hotel room, Joey claims, I love this, Oh, Marcus, this is peak defense. Joey claims this was a case of him completely misreading signals. I don't think she said come out naked. In fact, her entire story was, I was saying no the entire time. He asked to use the bathroom and came out naked. No, you were trying to force something to happen. He goes on to say that she was trying to talk and hang out often. He thought she wanted to hook up. Ryan also shares a slew of messages from her just showing that she was being nice to him, not saying anything sexual at all. He goes on to say that his ego caused him to be impatient because he didn't want to spend a lot of time courting her, as he felt the long conversations they had already shared together were enough. At the end of this, he apologized to her since she was trying to be a good friend and he took it another way. Marcus, another way of saying that is he tried to rape her.
You already said he was impatient.
Yup. He said he'd already done enough.
Yeah,
that's his psychosis. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Go on.
No, you got. No, I was just saying you're horny and impatient. That don't do. That's not good. But like this dude sounds like somebody that specifically needed to just pay for sex.
Yeah. His psychosis is coming through. His actual belief that he is more than he is, the actual belief that he is better than women, the actual belief that he is entitled, came through with that recollection. I thought I had done enough. Marcus, there are times when women will actually go spread V and go, hey, you want some? I'll be like, yeah, we can go get some food. Because I'm so oblivious to people hitting on me.
Oh, you too?
Oh, yes. Most men are. Because we were conditioned that just because a girl's nice to you doesn't mean they want you. Literally, I've walked away from sure things because I didn't realize they were sure things. Joey Ryan doesn't have that ability or even that socially implanted belief that you aren't owed sex. That is a sociopathic mindset to not be ingrained in something that was being taught before you and I were kids. You know, that was something that was started when he would have been kids. So there's no reason for him not to know that. That's his sociopathic tendencies fucking coming through.
That like I said, that implies, like you said, ego, narcissism, all that. But also implies because you said, I think I've done enough that at any point in time, you're not owed that from somebody. I don't care if you bought her a mansion.
A thank you would be nice, though.
Like, yeah.
I bought you a mansion. Just give me a thank you.
Even though I don't eat it, freaking a rhubarb pie. But that whole, like, now you owe me. Like, I you know, this isn't a video game where you collect enough mushrooms or whatever the requirements are, and all of a sudden you get an upgrade. Like, that's not what this is. So that kind of lets you know this whole mindset, regardless, is already effed up. So all these scenarios, again, and he keeps making back doors from himself.
Oh.
He goes halfway and keeps making the back door like it's something's foul in the hen house.
Here's another backdoor one. Joey also mentions Alley Cat, who says that he believes it was irresponsible of her to lead people to believe he sexually assaulted her. He then claims that they had a very consensual threesome with another female wrestler. You also wrestled me at a later date, he says, and not only were you agreeable to all the penis-related offense, but also pitching ideas yourself, and I feel that if you were traumatized by me, you wouldn't be so eager to do this match. Again, there are women on record saying that they were intimidated by you and were afraid to say no to you. That does not mean that you didn't traumatize her. It means that she was worried about her career. You cunt.
Imagine reading this off. It's you consented to all this penis-related offense. What the fuck? What? This ain't helping you, G. This is not helping you at all.
This one's gonna hurt. This one's gonna hurt his credibility. Regarding claims made by two women from the Not Your Demo podcast saying that he was inappropriate with them in a hotel room, Joey claims they told him beforehand that it was a nude podcast interview, and he attempted to call their bluff on it. When they said they didn't want to go through with it, he immediately retracted. What does that even mean? And apologized. One of the girls, however, allegedly hooked up with Joey in a hotel room after this incident. Allegedly. So the dude is trying to drop crowd during a fucking interview. Regarding a claim from a woman who said that he was inappropriate with her in a car while married, Joey says he didn't remember this incident at all, but he later apologized and she accepted. So it was true. So here's the two things that I have. Three things. He's either a narcissistic sociopath who is attempting to do what sociopaths do, and that's get people to believe him because that's their biological desire. Or he's a alcoholic sex addict who does not realize how abrasive, abusive, and conniving he has become. It's one of the two.
It's also very interesting that the whole thing keeps coming up because obviously he's going to use the concept of different aspects of how wrestling is performed, specifically the entertainment version of it, the kind of scapegoat. But clearly, so much of his behavior is being backed by the guys of wrestling because I would imagine he's, and again, this is speculative, that he's almost with these women, because like you said, considering all this penis-based offense, it's almost like he's testing them in a way, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, here she touched me, here she touched me, she's touched my penis all this many times. I gotten this close to her. Obviously, all under the guise of a gimmick, but in a way, he's priming them in a way. You know, because if you got that kind of mindset, you're priming them. So now it in a way, we've hit like what, third or fourth base a few different times under the guise of wrestling. So now I kind of have in, and now, you know, I mean, hell, we already kind of went there, so I can kind of ease them now into a situation, and then obviously all, you know, stuff transpires as that. This is a pattern here. There's something. I mean, obviously that the women that do play a part because, you know, whether they saw something going left and kept it up, but still, like I said, this half-ass culpability is not cutting the mustard.
It should also be pointed out that, as you've been saying, this is a way for him to develop an alibi to his behavior. Well, you only said that, you know, you wouldn't touch me here, but you clearly touched me in the ring, so clearly you're okay with it. It's something that people who are trying to build essentially emotional traps would do. They figure out a way to demonstrate a way to overpower you through a type of like fucking Jedi mind tricks. It's very conniving. It's very deliberate. And it's very obvious that these stories are following him, considering his gimmick has been for years this gross kind of sexual identity of his. Like, that's what he's been, sleazy. Like, he's embraced it. Regarding a ring announcer from the UK claimed he came on to her, he says he doesn't remember, but he's still sorry. Regarding wrestler Vanessa Craven, she claims he pressured... Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Regarding Vanessa Craven, who claimed that he tried to pressure her into sex, he says that they once kissed, so that was okay. He goes on to specifically say, Joey claims he believes that the flirting between them was always mutual. You know, Marcus, when someone flirts with me and I'm aware of it, I don't need to say, well, I believed it was mutual. I can see it's mutual. When the girl at Wendy's smiles at me and gives me a little wink as she slides me an extra, fucking thing of chicken nuggets that I didn't ask for, she's flirting. She wants the chat. No one else is doing that, especially not at Wendy's. I don't need to assume she's flirting. She's clearly flirting. When she put her phone number on the napkin, I don't need to assume that was meant for someone else. It's flirting.
Yeah, and another pattern that's clear here too, and I get it because of the concept of what being a wrestler is, and like the relatability that people have with each other in the business. But this pattern is only worsened by the fact that he clearly has no problem at all at any point, even when stuff is stacked up negatively against him, continuously shitting where he eats.
Yup. Regarding wrestler Jeddah, he tried claiming he tried to pressure her into having sex after shows. Joey claims he drunkenly came on to her in a strong manner at an after party. Marcus, he didn't pressure her. He strongly came on to her.
Wasn't me, it was the liquor.
Joey claims that he drunkenly when she said no, he respected her wishes. As far as a claim she made about him trying to get into her hotel room once, He says that didn't happen and that he had sex with a local fan from France that night. To clarify, Jeddah responded to that saying that it had something to do with, like, she was the person that he tried to have sex with that night in France. And apparently he doesn't remember it. So that's interesting. Regarding a claim from a woman who said he was inappropriate with her at a bar while she was underage and intoxicated, Joey said he did flirt with her, but freaked out when he learned she was 16 and allowed to be in a bar. I'm going to believe that's not true, considering he was trying to tell a 17-year-old to touch his dick. Regarding a claim from an ex-girlfriend named Victoria who said he hurt her during sex, Joey claims that she was an adult film... Oh, Marcus! She's a whore. It doesn't matter what she says.
You're a professional victim.
Oh, Joey, you didn't just drop her. Like, see, now, here's the thing. When we talk about discrediting victims or discrediting accusers, that, where you say, well, she's a adult film star, is literally not allowed. You cannot say, well, she wanted it that way. She's an adult film star.
Her occupation has nothing to do with your assault, asshole.
Marcus gets it. Marcus has had, to my knowledge, 0 days of legal training. And even he's more well-read than this schmuckadoodle-doo who had a lawyer help him with this, allegedly. He didn't. I'm going to tell you he didn't.
He used in another timeline, he used the officer to ask the girl what she was wearing after she brings up the rape.
Yeah. He's the officer who asked the girl what she was wearing after he raped her. So you shouldn't have been wearing a sundress. That turns me on. Joey, you scum. So let me read this one again. Joey claimed she was an adult film star who requested he do rough things when they were intimate. So I wanted to be a considerate lover. Oh, you hero. And attempt these things that I'm really not into. I would beg to differ according to all these allegations. And didn't really know how to do. But I tried my best, and I remember one time her complaining that I choked her too hard. So she's telling the truth. But but of all these theatrics that she cooked up with afterwards never happened. Again, that's the half-truth concoction. Joey also says that he had a bad breakup that he believes she's trying to hurt him because she holds a grudge. You tried to choke her to death. I'd be a little pissy too. So this is where things get also interesting outside of the claims court arena. Joey also mentions being released by Impact because of these claims. He notes that they never reached out to him after announcing they were investigating the situation, and says that they were just chasing the clout by firing him from the promotion. Sociopath. He also claims to be thinking about taking legal course regarding the false claims. Here's where this is all bullshit. He never had a lawyer talk to him about all this, Marcus. The one thing a lawyer doesn't want to do, if he intends to go to trial for something, be it for a criminal or a personal liability lawsuit, is to taint the pool of potential jurors. They don't want the story to get ahead of them. So they would never advise putting out a statement. That's why whenever you see someone in trouble, any celebrity, they say, my attorney has advised me not to speak on this matter until court. And it's because the lawyer is trying to figure out the best way to handle the case. And in doing so, needs to select the right type of jurors. Joey Ryan was not advised by a lawyer. If he was advised by the same one that Matt Riddle has. Because this would... If I'm a lawyer, I'm telling you to shut the fuck up. Mark, if you say, man, this coyote says I shot its baby, and I'm like, Marcus, don't say anything. We don't want to piss off the coyote community. But apparently, Joey didn't get that advice. He did piss off the coyote community.
Which in 2020, the coyote community is probably a legitimate thing.
Furries fucking
coyote community. But yeah, it's like, and again, I don't, lick about, law in a deep sense specifically, like the practical version. But I would imagine this is making it harder for his attorney possibly, because if she got to comb through 50 instances of these assaults, there's a bunch of, okay, you did this, but you didn't do that. You did that, but you didn't do this. Da 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 da. And she got to do that, and they have to do that like 50 times. You keep muddying the waters. That's not helping at all. It'd be one thing if he just denied everything everybody said, but he's getting to a halfway point and then taking his foot off the line. Like, that's a lot of crap to decipher through for an attorney, because now it really is like a bullshit tennis match that he said, she said after he gets his half gray side of the story.
Now, if it was a situation where it was just one woman, there's validity there to question, and you should.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that you shouldn't believe victims, but you need to prove that you're a victim to be believed. That's how the court works. But when you got 16 accusations against you, Joey, there's an old parable I always quote. If one person calls you an asshole, that person's probably an asshole. If 2 people call you an asshole, they're probably assholes. If 3 people call you an asshole, you're probably the asshole. Joey, if 16 women and 1 dude are saying you assaulted him, you ain't the victim in this bitch. You predatory, conniving, sociopathic, coked up junkie, allegedly. If you watch the video, he looks like he's high on something. He's rambling, he's spitting out words, he can't control himself. This was not made with the direction and approval of an attorney. At no point does he have an attorney. At no point would a psychiatrist allow or advise, I shouldn't say allow, but advise this. A psychologist would tell them to distance himself from the situation and to move on with their life. This is someone who's attempting to reclaim some type of career because he has no other marketable or attributable talents that can be profitable. And he also doesn't want to lose the ability to continue his hunt. His hunt is wrestling shows. All of his victims are wrestling related, and there's a reason for that. Joey Ryan is a bad person who does not realize he's a bad person. If it was one person, Marcus and I would be very much on the he said, she said, let's look at both sides. That's what we did with Enzo. Enzo's a creepy fucking bastard. But when your own friends are saying that you made up the encounter, or at least made up how the encounter went, there's a fair amount of defense to Enzo's claims that it was consensual. But when 17 odd people say that you were touching them and more who have not come forward, like, dude, you're pathological. And we know it. Anyone who believes him is simply doing it because they want to be anti-social justice or anti-women. And listen, I don't like social justice warriors. I don't like super extreme liberalism. I don't like super extreme conservatism. I don't like any extremism. Like, if you're like on the wide end of the spectrum, I don't want to do with anything with you. Like, be in the middle or close to, and we're good. But as soon as you get out to that fucking far reach, I'm like, no, we're good. I don't need to deal with you. You're crazy. Gun-toting, bottom bomb bunker rednecks and super extreme. There's no such thing as genders. Y'all are the same type of awful. Just go make out with each other. And to Joey Ryan, I am not one of those guys. I will sit here and look at the things objectively. I believe the law is a beautiful thing, and it needs to be enacted by people who truly understand that the law does not give a damn about the extraness of life. Because it's written in a way to not care. It's only misappropriated and misused by people with vendetta. I don't have a vendetta. But I'm telling you, Joey, you've copped to several crimes. You're not innocent. And if you've admitted to 9 fucking accusations, I'm willing to believe that most of the accusations, if not all of them, are true or true to a degree. Joey, I don't say this often, but fuck off and die. Because I don't believe you. And you don't have any defense. You don't have any evidence. You got nothing. I would have more sympathy for you if you said, yeah, I may not remember all this shit, but I know some of it's true. And I'm going to go away and get help and hopefully I can come back a better person. Because listen, Mike Tyson did it. He got therapy. He's on all types of really good psychotics. He's no longer the same violent, abuser that he used to be. He literally reformed his life. So I would sit here and say, Joey, that you could do the same thing. But you ain't owning it, bro. And anyone who's going to be this kind of abuser, hard pass.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm right there. Well, I've never liked him, but look, we've never like with the whole Enzo thing, like you said, we never, taken how we personally feel about an individual out on how we execute talking about them on this show, or looking at cases involving them from a fair perspective. That's not who we are. Also, we don't take this stuff personally like that. We talk about it because these are, dead ass serious times and issues, but we don't take this stuff, or we try not to take it personally anyway. So, but with him, it's like, okay, you found success in a profession being a perv, and you've clearly used your clout and or whatever type of influence or what have you to engage with people within that business who you would clearly have more access to, and again would have some type of influence over. And there was clearly instances where you overstepped or outright assaulted, and like I said, and nowhere in this does it look like he come off well, because it's not gonna just like how they're trying to explain to a judge that you having people basically touch your privates as a thing of wrestling. I just don't think that's gonna go over well. Specifically, if the judge or whatever doesn't really give a damn for the concept of wrestling in general, all they care about is, you potentially setting people up for assault later. So he clearly has a denial issue, like you said. It's some pathological narcissism in there somewhere. But there's a lot of smoke to this fire. And of the 16 names, how many people were people he actually worked with, as opposed to like strangers that were outside the business? Because he clearly looks like he has an insecurity of that he can't necessarily pull people he can't work with.
And you know what? That may not be too far from the truth. That would exclude him from being a sociopath, but it wouldn't destroy the idea of him being a sociopath, not sociopathic, a narcissist with severe social issues. Because when someone feels rejected, there's a lot of ways they can go with it. They can be like me and just go, whatever. My own mother doesn't like me. I don't expect you to. They can get super angry. They can get super depressed. Or they can lash out. Now, Joey Ryan clearly does have some significant, what's the word I'm looking for? Not confidence, but he's got some serious issues with his narcissism, because he's constantly targeting people that he does have some type of authority over. And listen, if you got the schoolgirl, school teacher fantasy, or the cheerleader, football coach, like, that's fine, whatever. It's a fantasy. If you are a coach at school actively preying on cheerleaders, though, you're using it as a hunting ground. Joey Ryan is clearly using his wrestling career to hunt women. It's not even in debate. So for this whole thing, for him to even have a shot at this, he would need to have brought in a lot more evidence. And I mean any evidence, because he didn't have any. He would have needed to have gotten... Because, like, here's the thing. When you're someone in this situation, if you believe that a feminist cabal is coming for you, what you do is you go to the courts, you say, I am being defamed by a group of women, and I am looking for restitution to my name and to my career, and I want to bring legal and... I keep saying personal, but that's not the word it is. I'm blanking on the word. It happens to me all the time. But it's the legal and the damages court, basically. You're looking for legal charges and you're looking to get restitution. Those are two separate courts that handle that. And you tell the judge, I want to subpoena personal files and text messages from these women to further prove my case. They'll allow it because there's no reason not to. Because here's the thing with Twitter, Instagram, your own text messages, Marcus, yes, those dick pics still exist, is that there's a hard copy of every text and DM that you ever send on servers. Marcus is like, oh shit, yep. Mine too, buddy. But it's one of those things where those evidence, I think they're kept for 5 to 10 years. You can go and get a subpoena from Verizon or AT&T or whoever. They'll usually send it to you. They'll send you the transcript, and then you can make your case. Joey doesn't have a case. He doesn't have a lawyer. He doesn't have any legal protection or counsel on this, because if he did, he would know all this. The other thing that's interesting is that he thinks he has a case against Impact, but Impact only fired him after 17 people, if not more, came out and said, yeah, you done did the bad thing to me. That's cause. They don't need another reason to fire you. If you go, hey, Joey, we heard you were harassing Samantha. Well, that's not true. Well, we're going to have to let you go anyway. Because clearly either it is true or it's not true, but in any case, you don't work well with others. Now, if there's a pattern, a lot easier to do it. Hey, Samantha, Jolene, Susan, Samantha B, Samantha C, Samantha D, Jolene XY. We don't know why that's her last name. It just is. They're all saying you like to look up their skirts. Well, that's not true. Well, dude, we got 9 people saying it is, so fuck off. Well, I'm going to sue. I'd like to see you try. There's nothing here legally. Joey's fucked, and he knows he's fucked. He's attempting to use the big old puff out your chest and bang on it technique. He's definitely trying to out intimidate a grizzly bear, because if a grizzly bear comes upon you, you're supposed to stand up tall and make a lot of loud noises to try to spook it away. Joey, it ain't working, buddy. That grizzly's coming for you, and it's hungry.
Nope, that didn't work for Leo. No.
Actually, that grizzly just wanted to butt fuck Leo, I think, because like Leo got fucking mauled by that thing. Leo's all like, raindrops keep falling on my head. And just went, oh my god, it's a bear! That bear was all up in Leo like that. Like my foot was in that bunny. Oh god, thumper.
The minute he saw them babies, she should have started zigzagging.
I'm pretty sure a grizzly bear's not a shotgun blast. Leo, zigzag! It can follow me!
Doesn't matter. Don't be Rick Stark. No straight lines.
That scene would have been so much better if fucking John, which is like, Rickon, zigzag, serpentine! And Rickon's like, what's that? And he just gets fucking outed by the goddamn arrow. Serpentine. All right, so Joey, what I want you to do, and this is very serious, I want you to take a deep breath and go fuck yourself. Speaking of going to fuck yourself, let's talk about Rey Mysterio. Because he lost his eye on Sunday. No, actually, we lost our eyes on Sunday because we all collectively blinded ourselves because what the fuck ever. I don't know what exactly the WWE thought their plan was for this. I don't know who's booking this, and I don't know why this is existing. To quote a line from the newsroom, I hate these people, and I don't know why you don't. I'm saying I, meaning me and Marcus, and you at home is everyone else who keeps watching this. Because I, Marcus, for the life of me, do not understand how this company is not just completely ignored. And I think the reason why it even has any fans left is because of the AEW kickstand. Now, what I mean by that is, if there was no AEW right now, I think there would be a lot more people jumping off the bandwagon, and I say that bandwagon term loosely as fuck. Sorry, Zach texted me. He wants to know what my address is. I'm telling you, Marcus, I know you guys are coming for the shows. I'm watching you both. If there was no AEW, I don't think so many fans would be as fervent in their defense of the WWE. They would be like, well, yeah, it's terrible, so I'm going to stop watching. But now they're so ingrained in this ideology of AEW versus WWE that they're refusing to give up their posts.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of it is appointment for them. It's become so ingrained that it's a part of their lives for so long that it's kind of hard to deviate from it. And I get that, but you can break long-standing routines like that. I'm doing it now. I think they think that in their mind, competition is going to breed creativity. Instead, it's just clearly breed more stupidity on WWE side. Like, don't get me wrong. Like AEW, like to me, Impact in New Japan is where it's at right now. And obviously, like you said, some stuff bubbling up with MLW as well. Um, but Impact had the best show of the weekend. It's not debatable. I'm pretty sure people would bend over ass backwards to say otherwise, but you're full of it, and you know you're full of it. It's fine. You know, we know acceptance is the first step, and you don't want to take it. Um, yeah, I mean it's a specific amount of garbage, and for the people like you said, it's the competition aspect, but it's really the people. I mean, they're going to war at this point with NXT. Like AEW ain't necessarily blowing stuff out the water, but they're clearly doing better than what they are, and a lot of that just because they are still finding themselves in a lot of ways. Whereas WWE clearly just has a pattern, and that pattern is sticking the middle finger at their viewers. So
it's not good at all. It's not, and it's this. It's Marcus. I'm just it's so bad. I think about the sequence, right? So Rey Mysterio, quote unquote, loses an eye. Now, let's just say that you and I thought this was a good idea. We'd also both be 6'8". I'd be black, you'd be white. So clearly this is fucking fantasy land, right? Like, this clearly doesn't exist because we wouldn't be these guys. We wouldn't think this eyeball thing was a good idea. But let's just say we live in a world where everything is reversed. Everything is a fucking photo negative of itself. And let's say that we are the kind of people that would be like, oh, a wrestler losing his eye on pay-per-view? Hell yeah. Let's say that we're those guys. Even if we book that, I would not, for the life of me, then tell my super villain heel face of the company, I want you to act like a giant coward and puke. I would be like, I want you to try to yank his eye out even further. I would want you to laugh. Do your Seth Rollins laugh. And just revel in his pain. No, instead we have to show Seth Rollins being a person. Like, could you imagine if Thanos snapped his fingers and went, oh my god, what did I do? Oh, I fucked up.
just see Vince walking up to Seth, telling him the idea. Like, come on, do it for him. Like, do what? He's gotta puke. Yeah, and all over the floor. Like, oh god.
Yeah, it was bad all around. It looked bad. It was just oh, it's fucking terrible. Everything about this made me hurt.
Like I said, it's ever since he came. Besides some of the stuff that he did with Andrade, and that got watered down because they ran that feud into the ground by doing it 50 times back to back. His career has severely been watered down. Like I said on some shows back, man. Like, either do something relevant with this legend, or just let him go.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this whole concept to him allegedly working without a contract is ridiculous. This is Rey freaking Mysterio. Like, apparently, clearly, his son is being dangled in some type of way. Either by the company, like, okay, well, you go, we got to let him go, and that kills his dream. And I know you don't want to kill the kid's dream. I mean, what other company is going to go to? You wouldn't want to go to New Japan? You want to go to New Japan and have him killed by Minoru?
Listen, Ray.
Huh?
Wait, hang on. I got to do my Triple H voice. Hey, listen, Ray. If you go to New Japan, that Minoru's going to kill Dominic. And I know you just got him back from Eddie. Paul, that was 15 years ago. I know you don't want him to go back to Eddie. I know you don't want him to lose to Minoru. He'll take his soul.
Wait a minute. And this one's for you. Just for you. They're like, he can stay here and do the mixed match challenge. Like, with who? Nia Jax. We'll take our chance with Minoru.
We'll put him with Nia Jax. Yeah, Minoru. Yeah, it's Rey Mysterio. You got tickets to New Japan? I don't know. Like, one, I don't even know if Dominic's any good. We haven't seen him.
Yeah.
And, like, Conan usually talks so much junk about everything. Like, oh, yeah, he's the best thing I've ever seen. I haven't heard Conan say anything good about Dominic, so, I have concerns. Secondly, if I'm Rey Mysterio hoping for that Dominic to WWE fucking, money, eventually I'm just going to say, are you going to sign him or are you not? Because I'll go. Like, I guarantee you Impact will sign him. Impact has a deal on the table for anyone who has a spouse. It doesn't even matter if they're married to someone who's a wrestler. Literally, they signed Kurt Angle and Karen. They'll sign anyone to get Kurt. They'll sign Dominic to get Rey. Are you kidding? I'm pretty sure EC3 had 3 of his girlfriends get signed by the company just to get him back. Like, come on. Right, you could do so much better. MLW, New Japan, AAA, fucking Impact, hell, Ring of Honor. They have less sexual assault allegations against them. You can go anywhere you want. You don't need to keep doing this to yourself. Speaking of doing this to yourself, Kairi Sane is apparently done. I think what was funny about this was like 2 weeks ago, like when she came back to television, everyone's like, see, she's not leaving. And now Dave Meltzer's like, no, she's still leaving. She was brought back so she could lose on the last night. I mean, like, what do you want? They filmed 2 weeks of Raw back-to-back, and apparently next week will be her last match with the WWE before she goes back to Japan and rejoins her husband. It'll be interesting to see how many people have to eat crow, but I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I do it on occasion. I eat crow. I'll cop to that. Sometimes I'm wrong. And when that day finally happens, I'll admit to it. But like looking at this, I laugh because so many people are like, no, she's definitely staying. Why else would she bring her back to TV? Oh, geez, I don't know, guys. It's like people are like, Kurt Angle's not leaving. You know, Lance Storm was like, you know, I didn't get furloughed. I got fucking fired. You know, and he wasn't the only one. Like Pat Buck, he's like, I didn't get furloughed. I got fired. Now, eventually they brought back Pat Buck. At least I think they did. But like, you know, so many people were wrong about the WWE, and they're continually wrong because they don't want to listen to the people who know. And I fucking laugh about it, Marcus, because it's fucking, I can't believe people are still this gung-ho about being a WWE fan.
Yeah, like I said, when it's all you know, it's all you know. It's all you know. You don't want to know nothing else, and you look at the slightest glimmer of hope, like the whole thing about people like, and I know you're not the biggest fan of, but the Mustafa Ali return this week. And like, oh my God, like he looked so great. I'm like, he came back as the third guy with Ricochet and Cedric Alexander after somebody thought it was a good idea to give Ricochet the mic. This was God, it's bad. It is bad. It's like, oh man, bless that kid.
I have it on good. I have it on good authority, Marcus, that the same person that gave Ricochet the mic was also the same person who told Sid Vicious, "Go ahead, jump. What's the worst that could happen?" Oof. All right. I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to touch on that. So apparently there was like a rumor that the Nation of Domination was going to be brought back in 2020, and they're like, "Well, it has to be a face stable." No, they only work as militant. That's the whole point of the Nation of Domination, is that they're angry. Now you got to find a new way to make that militant work without it, you know, being socially relevant. You know, maybe they're like, we want less starch in catering. Yeah. But apparently that was the original idea with MVP stable, was that it was going to be the Nation. I don't know why you would bring it back. It wouldn't work in 2020, but fair enough. But instead they decided to call themselves the Pain Locker. Well, what the fuck did they call themselves?
The Hurt. The Hurt Business. Yes, him, Lashley, and now Shelton Benjamin, who's the new 24/7 champion. Ooh.
The other 24 champion was already a black dude. He wasn't good enough.
Yeah, it's been funny because it was funny hearing that particular, I guess, storyline I did, because it became clear very early on that MVP was going around recruiting all the black guys.
Mm-hmm.
And last night he was having a exchange with Ron Simmons. Way to go! By the way, WWE, another aging person not wearing a mask in the PC during COVID. Great, love it.
If they kill Ron Killings, I'm gonna cry. Because I remember, Marcus, one of my earliest memories of wrestling was watching Ron Simmons win the WCW World Title. And this was in an age where I really didn't understand the idea of race. And I was like, oh, cool. This dude's a former nose tackle, and I like football. And look at him bounce around and beat up Vader. Vader beat Sting. Fuck you, Vader. I got grounded for that one, but I was like 5, so understandable. And when he beat Vader, I was like, yay, he's a good guy. I was so excited. I didn't understand the historical context. I do now, and I love it even more. But it's one of those things like, why would you risk it? Like, if Ron Simmons needs the money that badly, and you gave him like $5-10 to show up, all right, fair play. But I don't think that man's irresponsible with his money. I don't even know. Like, I didn't even see the segments. I don't know what was said, but he was wearing his damn T-shirt, so I can't imagine it was anything significant.
Yeah, and he didn't even say it. So, bummer. Shout out to the Rilla. Bummer. But
bummer.
But yeah. So we'll see. You know, it's funny because of the three, MVP, Lashley, and Shelton Benjamin, Lashley is the one with no gold.
Yeah. Yeah, that is kind of interesting. Maybe he can get some gold by putting Brock Lesnar's head around his waist.
Yeah, well,
so
he can keep hoping. Yeah, but kudos to Kyrie. They don't need her. I mean, she don't need them. They need her.
Yep.
So.
Well, here's what I want to say about the Hurt Business. The name's not great, but they can't use Beatdown Clan. Fair enough. The BDC was awesome. But the problem is that you had this cool stable. Like MVP just claimed himself the U.S. champion, although apparently that's not the case. You know, Shelton's got gold. Bobby Lashley's Bobby Lashley. You want to do this new pro-black heel stable. That's cool. So then why the fuck are you losing on your first day as a group? Who booked that nonsense? And the worst part is Ricochet. The dude who has as much charisma as a silkworm was the one who beat the leader of the stable. They can't figure out which day it is, Marcus. This company's going down the crapper.
You know, you're not talking about the same Ricochet that had that 5-star classic with Brock Lesnar at Super Showdown.
You mean in the glorious kingdom of Saudi Arabia where nothing bad ever happened? You know, I am. I totally am. All right. Last story. This one's not so much a story. Apparently, Ring of Honor is doing these week-to-week series things where they talk to people, I guess. It's how they're doing their COVID, I guess. And progressing storylines. I should say their COVID control. Apparently, Brody Queen. Sorry, that's my fault. Brody King said that he has left Villain Enterprises. Now, before he left Villain Enterprises, Marty Scurll, Brody King, and PCO were part of the trio. They were former trio champions, if I remember correctly. And Brody King won the tag team titles with, I think, Marty Scurll? Maybe it was PCO. But essentially, they were a group, and they were being used in the NWA storyline for the Ring of Honor NWA stuff. We now know that the NWA is not coming back this year, and despite Billy Corgan's claims to the contrary, I don't know if they'll ever come back. With Marty Scurll and PCO for the 6-man and tag team titles with PCO, just so we're clear. So it's one of those things where I really doubt that these guys were really ever going to do this angle. And it seems like that the only reason that they were together may have been for that angle, but to see him leave on a YouTube show, like doing just some fucking random ass segment, it makes me think that Marty Scurll may not be long for his involvement with Ring of Honor and the wrestling world. The story goes on to say the new video from King, where he cuts ties from Villain Enterprises, announced that King will be a single star. Brody King said that he made his announcement indirectly referencing Scurll, PCO, and Villain Enterprises by calling them Flash Pretty Boy, the Inhumane Monster Veteran, and No More Villains, respectively. So it seems like he's done with them. Could mean that Scurll is done with the company, although if you're following Kelly Klein's stuff on Twitter, it definitely does seem like there's some real issues with trying to actually have a follow-through with some of these claims and accusations. So it's very, very possible that Scurll doesn't go anywhere. with the claims against Skrull, he should. They're absolutely horrendous, and he really doesn't have a defense for him. And he had to release 2 statements, which pretty much tells you that he doesn't know what to do and how to handle these accusations. But also on the podcast or the YouTube show, they talk about Mike and Maria Kanellis, basically, in my opinion, cementing their return to Ring of Honor, which, if they do fire Jay Lethal and Marty Scurll and Bully Ray's gone, it would, behoove them to put the belt on someone who's not a total piece of shit. And while, granted, Bennett has admittedly been for lack of better words, a junkie in the past, he is clean and sober, I think, 2 years now. And with his desire to be an inspiration to his children and his wife, I don't feel like he's a high risk to relapse. So I would put the belt on him. It's a terrible looking belt, but at least Mike Bennett is a stable enough wrestler to carry it.
Yeah, and you almost have a ready-made feud there with him coming back and trying to.
Matt Taven.
Yeah, because it's like you left, I thrived. You kind of muddled out, and now you come back and take the title that I don't know where he is character-wise. I just show, but in his mind, he's like that. I never lost in his mind. So it's like you don't even deserve this strap. I'm the champion. I'm the one that held the kingdom up when you left and faltered. So that's almost a ready-made thing in a lot of ways. But it's interesting with the whole Skrull thing because it's like how compromised in position they put themselves in with, or what, not put themselves in because they didn't know this stuff at the time, but that they find themselves in now because of how much power he may have allegedly had. Right?
Mm-hmm. So, Bennett could be looking at a real nice day in terms of a payday.
Yeah. And who do they get to replace Skrull? Because he was supposed to be kind of like one of the head kahunas, right?
Yep, he was going to be one of the head bookers. I think they're going to end up keeping Hunter Johnson in that role, despite the fact Delirious has been terrible at it. That's assuming they go on from Skrull. It's still not clear if they're going to. They might just keep running with Jay Lethal and Marty Scurll for all we know. It's gonna be interesting. By the by, it looks like Rusev is over his COVID-19. That's a good thing. I don't know if he was asymptomatic, but he's back to posing in the gym.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think didn't Lana's parents have it too?
Yeah,
it was in.
I want to.
I hope they don't. Okay.
I let me double check. I thought Lana's father passed away from it. I could be wrong. Lana WB update COVID.
Hopefully, little Kayla's doing okay as well. I think she needs to do a 3-peat.
It looks like both of her parents have improved.
Oh, that's good.
And Kayla's getting sick of people saying that you're faking your COVID and that it's your fault you got COVID. Don't leave Kayla alone. You leave Kayla alone. Remember when YouTube was just filled with videos like that? Leave Brittany alone.
You don't look like you're dying to me. Great. Wow. That's you had the same energy for cancer patients too?
Well, I mean, yeah. Look at what they were saying about Roman Reigns. He doesn't look sick. I'm sorry. How is someone supposed to look when they're sick? All right. So, anything else you want to bring up tonight?
No, I think that pretty much covered it.
Join us tomorrow for another show on twitch.tv/WrestlingUnderground. We are going to be talking all about Impact from this week, debuts, title changes, title matches, all that good stuff. We'll also be back Thursday, just me and Marcus this week, right? Just me and you?
Uh-huh.
We'll be talking Stargirl. We'll be talking Doom Patrol, the Doomy Patrol. So tune in for that. I'm sure we'll find other things to talk about. That'll be on twitch.tv/Comic and GameCorp. The links to all that stuff is down below. Personal Twitters are Paradox Kid on Twitter for Marcus, PARADOXKID.
That's me.
You can also find him on the podcast, The True Penny Show, on Twitter at True Penny Show, TruePennyShow. You can find me on my personal Twitter account, Chad NerdCorp, ChadNerdCorp, and on Instagram at Chad's Photo Hut. If you want to keep up with us, you want to follow the show, we gave you the links to our personals, but our links to our website is realnerdcorp.com. Twitter is NerdCorp, NERDCORP, and Instagram is RealNerdCorp. That's how you keep up with the shows. That's how you follow us. That's how you show your support. Links to all of our shows will be uploaded to our websites and to our Podbean, iTunes, and what's the other one? Podbean, iTunes, and Spotify. Haha. So for Marcus Green, I'm Chad Porto. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. Thanks for giving us a chance. Remember to watch more wrestling. And as always, Marcus, take us home.
Good night, me.